Welcome, everybody, to our latest installment of the Fire Pit Chat Series. We started this, I think, David, you might have been our first one in the heat of the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we can't sit around the fireplace, so let's go sit outside by the fire pit. We have enjoyed having you on here. Durran, welcome back. This is your second one of these as well. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again, Matthew. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let's get this going here. So on your Zoom video today, me, Matthew, Chief Marketing Officer at TradePending, Durran and David. We'll give you guys just a brief moment to introduce yourselves here as we get going. I'm just going to get through these introductory slides here as everyone will expect. We are recording this. We will share it out afterwards. If you have questions, use the Q&A button in there. This is going to be what I think is going to be a lively session because you got two people who are absolutely skilled at figuring out how to solve problems in dealerships. Don't miss this opportunity to give them the tough stuff. All right. We do a ton of stuff on social media. We do giveaways. We give away t-shirts. We post case studies, valuable content. It's on there. If you're not following us yet, please do so. And then the big dance is coming up. David, are you going?
I am, yes.
Durran?
I believe so.
All right. We're going to be there. We're in a booth. We're in the main hall back near Toyota's like megaplex booth that they have. In addition to amazing products and lovely people, we actually have the open bar and electric slot car racing. So if you want to reserve your spot, we'll share this out afterwards. You'll be able to click in there. And if you get the fastest time on the course without flinging your car off on the track, then you win this massive king crab Yeti cooler. That's the color that it's called. All right. So that being said, we shared this out ahead of time. We're going to talk about some bad habits you guys have seen develop, how you're coaching past that, and then what should people think about adopting right now. Let me stop the share here. David, I'm going to kick over to you first. Just please give us the background on who you are, what you do.
Oh, sure. So I'm a son of a car dealer. My dad became a dealer in 1952, and I've got 8 brothers and sisters. We were all raised in and around our family dealership. And after resisting wanting to work there, I worked there for 20 years through all the parts of the store. We ended up buying a few other stores, and I became president of our small auto group of 4 dealerships. And then the internet bubble started filling up, and Ford got real active online. And I said, wow, we better get involved in that before they take over. So myself and a few dealers got together with Dealer Council, and we created FordDirect.com. So after 20 years, I left our family dealership and got into a joint venture with Ford, and that turned out to be a really great launch for my digital orientation. So did that as a chief operating officer for 3.5 years, and said, boy, dealers need to learn how to sell cars over the internet before we worry about sending them leads and building websites and stuff. So the last 20 years, this is our 20th anniversary year for Kain Automotive. I've been going around setting up internet and BDC operations, digital marketing. And today I finished up a 2-day 20 group with a group of digital marketers that we operate. So that's what I do. And everything I share is going to be based on what I see working in dealerships. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, wonderful. Durran, over to you.
Well, first off, congratulations, David. That's awesome. 20 years under Kain. I mean, wow. My name's Durran Cage. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico originally. I sold my first car in 2002. It was a Dodge Dakota. And from that point on, I was just in love. So my best friend, me and him both got into the business, worked for his dad. I was like his second son, and we just had a blast. And when I graduated from the University of New Mexico, I got a degree with Chrysler as a rep, and they shipped me off to Memphis, Tennessee, which is where I'm still at now. I'm just outside of it. But back in 07, 08, I was a factory rep, young and wild, just going around getting with dealers and showing them different ways to position themselves. And Google was really, SEM, pay-per-click was a big thing then. And so the territory that I had, a lot of dealers had no idea like I was speaking way past it. And I said, well, one dealer was like, put your money where your mouth is and come show us. And so I left Chrysler in '08, best time to leave, and then go to retail in 2008, and did that for 8 years as internet sales manager director, then serving as a GSM at Allen Vines Automotive. And during that time, I got to learn from people like David Kain and his companies and so many other experts in the field. So it was great. So I kept learning. And then after that, I joined, you have to forgive me for the noise. So I apologize, you guys. They're like working on my house. But we ended it, after the retail job as a GSM, I served as a vendor, as a consultant for there, and then started my company in 2018. To today, it's still going around internet sales, CRM, and digital marketing as well. And just like what David said, I love that he said that. Everything that, that I want to give back here on this call will be around things that are things that I've actually seen working to this day. So excited to be here, and thank you so much.
Awesome. Boy, hey, that was a great story, and I love that experience base. I also am a fan of the Lobos, and
Hey,
feel like I got something really going on down there this year. So
yeah,
I feel like there are stories within stories within stories that we could go into, and we're going to move on. Okay, so before jumping into the bad habits, you guys have probably seen some actually really good things happen over the last 2 years. Durran, what are some things you've seen dealers doing just proactively on their own? You're like, man, great work.
I would say that the best thing that I've seen dealers do, that they're doing consistently, that's working for them right now, is really doing consistent training with their people. Because of what's happened over the last 2 years and so many changes that have happened, the way that we're talking to customers has changed. So it went from, you got to remember, from an inventory situation that was really unique, where we assumed everything when we talk to a customer, to where now we have to switch back and not assume and get back to learning about what customers are looking for. But the style and how leaders are doing it now is, I'm seeing great sales managers getting the trenches back with their people so that they can learn what customers are saying as well, because it's even changed for leaders. So it's almost like nobody's been left unchanged after what's happened over the last several years. A lot of people, what I call it, getting back in the trenches or getting in the mud. To me, that's been one of the most effective things I've seen. Like an example would be an upfront TO, getting involved upfront to meet your guest has been something I've seen that's been really impactful and been helping the teams that I've been able to serve.
Wonderful. And David, so we'll kick the question over to you now. So what positive things have you seen dealers doing that you've just been impressed with? And then we'll let you kind of flip it into, and here's some bad habits we've seen for them too.
Yeah, so I think Durran will probably agree with this, is when we started selling cars, whether it was in 2002 or 1982, it was sell what you see. And during the last 2 years, it's sell what you don't see. So if you have what they want, sell them that. But if you don't give up. Let's sell them something else. Let's sell them something we've got maybe coming in on trade, going through your in-route inventory, and putting the dealership front and center as the solutions driver. If we don't have the vehicle right there in front of them, we literally will find it for you. We'll custom order it for you, but we're not going to give up on you just because we don't have the vehicle. And candidly, Durran and I both have probably had to suffer through, when inventory is short, a lot of salespeople were like, we don't have it, we can't get it. So that is a flip side bad habit that we also had to help overcome. So the good dealers recognize sell what you don't see, and the bad dealers struggled through team members that said, we don't have it, so I don't know what else I can do for you.
Durran, how about you? What have been some habits over the last couple of years that you wish wouldn't have formed?
Well, you're right. David's so right, because it piggybacks on what he just said and what I said before, which is, imagine listening to a call, and most of the calls that we were listening to when we heard the bad habits would be something like this. Hello, thank you for calling ABC Motors. How can I assist you? Okay, great. You're calling about the make, model, what? Yeah, right now those are completely, we have nothing like that coming in. I can put you on the waiting list if you'd like. No, okay, thank you so much. Boom. And so many times we saw that contact information, like just getting back to getting the information. And then I ended up coming up with a formula that just reminds salespeople to thank customers for the opportunity. Like we weren't hearing thank you anymore. And that to me is a really bad habit, to just take time to say, I appreciate you for this opportunity and thank you for letting us connect. How can I assist you? So those were some of those bad habits, is almost going back to when I said assumption. We were just assuming that every customer just wanted one thing and they only wanted to buy one certain way without giving any other options.
Did you guys, if you had to draw a distinction between some bad habits you saw forming at the leadership level versus the sales level, Durran, you were speaking kind of tactically down to the sales level. Do you have examples that come to mind of, here's things that we saw that we wish leadership was doing differently versus what salespeople should be doing differently?
Yeah, so give an example to what we just said. Leadership, if we're not even doing something as fundamental as to listen to a call, just, to do something as simple as to revisit the opportunities that came in the previous day, that's the only way that you're really going to identify how your experiences are going, unless maybe you're using some kind of technology or there's reportings. But it still takes human effort out of those leaders to make sure that they're doing those fundamentals so that they actually have the ability to be able to coach.
David, any bad habits you've seen at the leadership level versus the salesperson level?
Yeah, I think, the flip side of that early management involvement, the curious manager that gets involved with the team member and says, hey, before you hang up on anybody, let me take a swing at saying hello and thanking them and such. But the flip side of that was managers that basically said, look, just tell them we don't have it. Let's move on and, mark the car up and just kind of a laissez-faire persona that is hard for a team member to overcome. If the boss doesn't care, then you can't expect me to care. And that's a bad leadership habit that we've really coached against. And certainly our best performing stores, you've got managers who are like, wow, I got something. We're going to figure out a solution for these guys. So if it's not used, if it's not used, it's new. If it's not, something that fits them in the right color or equipment, we've got something else that's going to work. So solutions drivers tended to be my favorite managers and continue to be that way today.
Wonderful. When do your future clients realize that they have issues? That is, like, what are the key indicators that they should be paying attention to when they finally see them? They're going to be like, uh-oh, we need help.
So for us, Durran nailed it, listening to some phone calls. I've often kidded that the greatest contributor to alcoholism in the automotive industry is managers listening to sales calls. And I think there's some truth to that. And we also recommend don't listen to them by yourself because you might be inclined to climb up on the roof and throw yourself off. It's all solvable. We see a lot of managers sometimes will throw their hands up. I was with one of our digital marketing 20 groups today, and it was so invigorating for me. And this is a real throwback technique, but it's so effective. And they said, we don't let any of our team members take any phone calls unless they use a sheet, literally a manual sheet, which candidly I feel totally great about. Sometimes we got to go back to go forward. And if they don't go through the parameters on that call sheet, they're unable to take phone calls. So all those years ago when I started, we couldn't answer the phone call without that call sheet. And it was a 2-part form, and we'd tear it off and give one part to our manager. We'd keep the other for our own retention. There were no CRM tools, and we'd put them on little note cards, put them on our plastic sticker box, and we'd roll on. And those are the habits that Durran and I benefit from. What I oftentimes say is the trainer of bad habits was the greatest trainer of all time, because we're all the time overcoming them, aren't we, Durran, in our daily work? The bad habits are out there.
Yep.
Durran, I see you chuckling when he's talking about having the cheat sheet and tearing half of it off there. Is that an experience that rings true for you?
Yeah, no, 2002. That's why I could not stop laughing because it was white, yellow, and pink. And you took your phone up, and that's how it had to work. You took your phone up, and you gave one to a manager. There was one that stuck in the pin, and then you gave one to a receptionist. And then what she would do is she would plug it into, I'm not sure what database that was, and then it would print off a work plan the next day. And you would go up to that BDC room because there was no BDC, and you had to make those calls yourself. And then when they were done, if you didn't have anybody else to call, there was the phone book. Yes, and I did do the phone book thing. But so I feel that. And Matthew, so to your question, when I get a call, and I'm sure it's similar to David, typically is for me, it's when there's change. Like something has changed in their organization. Like a BDC or an internet manager moves on, or a manufacturer comes in and says, this is terrible. And you guys have got to fix this. And a lot of my, opportunities come from referrals from other partners that will be in a store and they'll hear that change happen. And another thing could be video. Like everybody knows that's connected to me. I do a lot of video content marketing, and that's something that I'm really big about. Internet departments, and not just internet departments, whole dealerships should communicate as much as they can using video, using audio, every meme that we can. And so typically it's one of those two things. It's typically when a dealer is ready for change, that's normally when I think they reach out to a David or myself, because they say, okay, we want to grow. We don't want to do it alone. So we want to get with some people that can help us get there, because they know it's a two-way. There's no consultant or trainer that can just do it all for a person. So they have to be comfortable with who they're selecting, because there's going to be work that's going to be required on both sides.
Wonderful. And a question right back at you there. So there's going to be people on this call that, like, yeah, we've got some things that we need to just change and flip around, and you guys are pros at doing this, and maybe they're not ready to work with you, and maybe they are. But that change is going to take time. It's not something you just flip the switch and it happens. What advice would you give them to, like, how long it's going to take? What are the things that are going to be short-term wins versus a little bit longer effort? How do you think about coaching people through that process, Durran?
So what I would say to people, especially when it comes down to how long it's going to take, I would say, the other party, they also dictate how long it's going to take. We don't know how long the staffing has been in place. There's a lot of things that go to it. But what I would say is a great way to manage things and look at things is make sure that we're communicating about those things weekly. So let's say if you're going to do something, that you're going to start a change of something, maybe you even heard on this call with David and Matthew and I, do something and then make sure you revisit it in 3 days to see how it's doing. And then in 1 week, see how it's doing. And then at the beginning of that, come up with what those either KPIs or what those numbers are that we're going to do. So it could be managers are going to look more, or they're going to text more, or we're going to do more video. Whatever that thing is, the best thing is communicate about it. Don't just put a rule in place and then tell your team to make it happen. Communicate with your team, get a little playbook in place and say, hey, everybody, we're going to do this for the next 4 to 6 weeks, or we're just going to start doing this. And then we're going to meet frequently to see how successful we're doing. And we want as much feedback as possible. And going at it that way helps the culture, and then also helps the change in that direction.
David, how would you answer that question? Yeah, so, and Durran, this will be very similar to what you experienced. What I always like to say is we'll know on the next call. We'll know on the next text, the next email, the next video, because what we teach works like now. And if they literally that day, and while we're in there, do what we teach them, we've oftentimes seen them come back and say, wow, engaged, appointed, sold based on the ideas and the strategies that we collaborated on. And so then you build better habits and you build confidence in where they can go. And to Durran's point just a moment ago, you got to meet on it regularly. You got to talk about it a lot. You got to celebrate the wins. And so many times, we see dealerships not really celebrating the wins. If I were to show you all 5 phone calls that you did and one of them was bad, you go, oh man, I got to do something on that call. What about the other 4 that were so good? Be happy about those too. So, we're in a position to where, as dealers, we oftentimes don't pat other people on the back as often as we should. So celebrate the victories, look for the gains, and know that there is no finish line, so to speak. The marketplace is going to throw something else at us, and we need to always be amenable to new ideas and changes necessary to move forward.
Reminds me of my philosophy with my children and their report cards. I just yell at them for the bad grades and ignore the good ones.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're hinting at some things. All right. So what are some great things that you would say, like, hey, here's some great habits to adopt right now? I'll throw this question out to the audience as well. If there's something going on in your dealership right now, from a sales perspective, like this is something like Steven over there is doing this and I don't want to talk about it, or Susie over here, and you want to throw this question to these folks, throw it in the chat. We'll take it like, hey, how would you think about solving this? And maybe it's not a person, maybe it's just a system issue there. Think about your question, throw it in the chat. So then David, for you, putting on your crystal ball hat or your Ford futuristic hat, whatever it's going to be. Put on some kind of hat that makes me think, here's what's going to happen in 2023. And here's what I would say, here are some great habits to be adopting right now. So that's a 2-part question. Where do you think the world is headed? And what habits should dealers be adopting right now that are new and relevant, or maybe they're tried and true?
Yeah, I think something we're going to have to address for 2023 is the challenge of higher interest rates, more inventory. Surprisingly, a lot of dealers are like, I really preferred fewer pieces of metal on the ground, and I like working from that scarcity mentality. We're going to have a lot of options out there and have to get back into building conversations, relationships with the guests, showing some curiosity, finding out what drew them to the vehicle, and making sure that we become solvers of transportation, and also being able to talk them through declining trade values. And you certainly have better data than Durran and I have to look at that. But customers during the last year have benefited from an ever increasing value for their trade. But what happens as that marketplace starts to slip? Then we've got to start talking about, well, now you're going to have to put tires on that vehicle, and that'll cost you $250, $300, $400, $500. How's that going to affect your monthly payment? You're now operating outside of a warranty. If something were to happen, how's that going to affect your monthly payment? How old is your technology versus what we've got available now? So just being in a position where we build value and going back to some of those traditional elements that separate your product from someone else down the street is going to be really important for a sales professional to leverage, and for management to really emphasize the value of product knowledge once again.
Thank you. And Durran, over to you. So where do you think the world is headed this year in 2023? And then what habits are you coaching people on right now?
So in 2023, man, I would have to say, after last year, I would say 2023 is really taking care of the people that you've had, the customers that have connected with you, that do service and sales with you for the last few years, decades, however long your company has been in business. I would, as a dealer, as an operator, I would want to turn my database, like the customers that are with me, into a community, So like what David was just saying, with trade values, with credit and things, there's so much going on, and it changes daily. Why not communicate, and let people know in your database, in your CRM, hey, we're communicating to you. This does not mean we're selling you all the time, but we believe that communication is important both for you and for our employees. So we wanted to connect you all together. And it talks about the what's going on in the community, that city, that state, and how it affects their decisions. I think that would be really important in 2023 to just, as a crystal ball, looking forward, to just communicate differently to your database and your customers in a way that you would with a friend or family member. I feel that would be so impactful. We try to do this on social media, but social media ends up being paid media in most cases. Well, if people are already paying you and they've already done business with you, communicate frequently without trying to sell them. I think that would be great. And then a habit, this is basic, and it's just follow up. And I say this because follow up is one thing that the windows changed in our follow up on how we did things in 2022 and 2021. And so there's a lot of data. And again, back to you, I'm sure you all could see the data of how many touch points it takes to get somebody, even a trade opportunity or a customer, to either engage or to get them in, or either for them to even transact. But from a lot of what I've seen and what our team has seen in data is that the follow-up, one, might be a little bit longer depending on the sources. And then two, what's in that follow-up is so important. So I would encourage people as a habit to revisit your follow-up cadence, your processes, the communication that's in there, and make sure it's relevant for right now. But I would reward, if I'm a leader in an organization, reward follow-up as a habit. Pay for that behavior. Celebrate it in your sales meetings about a customer 6 months ago who was interested, that because of follow-up came in and bought a vehicle today. That's the kind of behaviors that you want. And then extra new business and new clients that you get, that's the extra great thing that you're getting, but take care of those previous clients of yours.
Wonderful. David, I want to give you a chance to plug. You've got a show coming up in April. Tell us briefly about that.
Yeah, so it'll be our 18th Clients and Friends workshop. We call it the Digital Success Workshop, and we'll have a lot of industry experts coming in and talking about what's working in the marketplace, some of the crystal ball challenges that are out there, and strategies and tactics that we're going to be able to share based on our experience and what we know is working for our clients. So we'll spend 3 days doing that. We're also going to go to the Kentucky Castle for a fun reception. We're going to have Joe Dallas. Hopefully he'll pick up the guitar and play a little tune with the band. And then we're going to go and spend an afternoon at the Keeneland race course and watch the horses run. So should be a lot of fun. It's great at that time of the year because it's the run up to the Kentucky Derby. And so all the flowers will be in bloom, and it'll be a beautiful time to live and hang out in Lexington, learn a lot about digital marketing and digital selling.
You glossed over, and it's fine that you did, but the Kentucky Castle, there's actually a giant castle in Kentucky. Like, if you haven't heard of this thing, look it up. It is absolutely amazing. I'm kind of jealous I'm not going. So Durran, pass it over to you. You have just started, just in the last month or so, a new group on Clubhouse. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that's VEV everything. However, I'm going to David Kain's event in Kentucky. I want to go to that. So, David, we're going to have to talk offline. I don't even need to speak. I just want to get up there. My brother lives in Louisville, so it's not too far. He always goes. But yeah, no, so it's in Clubhouse, it's VEV everything. And so that's just a community. It's a community that John Ellis, David Long, we've gotten together and just created a community that just talks about everything EV, because it helps me as well and so many others, because EV is here, right? And so the adoption among both consumers and retailers it's kind of up in the air, and so we just had a show before. We had a community call just an hour ago, and it was great because so many people all over the world are coming together just to talk about EV problems, situations. So it's been great. But other than that, still here with, I've got Cage Community, I've got Cage Community, Cage Campus, but you can just Google Durran Cage. If you ever wanted to connect or just pick my brain, or if you want to talk to myself or somebody on my team, just let us know. But I'm thankful to be a partner with you guys and to share some time and space with David. It's been great. I've got notes here that I've got. So hopefully other people got some good benefit from this as well, because I sure did. So thank you both. This has been great. And thank you for everyone that's listening.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, both of you. And as the as the fire trucks and police things drive by here, well, hopefully that's not too much of an issue. We're going to conclude things here. And I want to just remind everybody that if you don't have one yet, you need your own wobbly bird. That's the TradePending mascot. Someday at NADA, we're going to have like a 40-foot version of this thing that like comes down and can like drink water out of your hand. Today we just have the small ones. Go to that link, case sensitive. We will send you one. And with that, we're going to be done. We're going to wrap up pretty much right on time, 1 minute over. David, Durran, thank you guys enough for coming on here and sharing expertise with all our people. We appreciate it.
Thank you. What a pleasure it was to spend time with you, Durran and Matthew. We'll see you later.
Thank you, David.
And we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.